Hi, everybody. This is Gad Saad. Yesterday, I saw an article written about Charlize Theron, the South African actress, wherein she was discussing the fact that one of her adopted children, at the age of 3 years old, came to her and advised her that they weren't a boy. The child is born as biological male, but instead were a girl, and that she's she, meaning Charlize, has since been raising her as a girl. So I decided to weigh in on this issue. So I first began by tweeting, "So brave, so stunning, so progressive, well done at Charlize Africa. I raised my children as non-arboreal multicellular carbon-based agents. I did not impose a species on them. It's for them to decide whether they wish to be part of Homo sapiens or not," because she was very proud of the fact that, she doesn't, it's for them to decide what they are. It's not for me to impose what they are. At the age of 3, by the way. Then later I visited her Twitter feed. I don't follow her. And I noticed that she was ascribing a biological sex to her dogs. And so I said, please don't impose a gender on your dogs as well. I raised my children as non-arboreal multicellular carbon-based agents. I did not impose a species on them. It's for them to decide whether they wish to be part of Homo sapiens or not. And then later I added in another tweet, I'm following the lead of the parental heroism of at Charlize Africa. I've advised my non-arboreal multicellular carbon-based agents, also known as children, that they do not need to call my wife and I mom and dad respectively. We are gender-neutral, non-binary caregivers 1 and 2. And on my personal Facebook page, my wife reminded me that she is caregiver 1. I'm relegated to number 2. I agreed. And then finally, just to make things clear, I introduced a new concept called periodic table fluidity. And it goes something like this. I don't want my children to be restricted to viewing themselves as carbon-based. This is why I'm now immersing them in the fluidity of the periodic table. I've asked them to look at all elements and decide which ones they self-identify with in terms of their building blocks. Well, I thought that Charlize Theron and I were starting to like one another. And so I was quite shocked and disappointed and disturbed that she blocked me, to which I sent a final tweet wherein I announced, why has icon of parental wokeness at Charlize Africa blocked Dr. Saad? Does she hate Middle Eastern war refugees? Why is she erasing the existence of marginalized Arabic Jews who are differently weighted? Now, again, you might think, oh, Professor Saad, why are you trolling? I'm not engaging in frivolous trolling. Children are not phenotypic extensions of us that akin to the way we use a Prada bag. They're not accoutrement of virtue signaling. Now, I'm not suggesting that children who suffer from gender dysphoria should not be treated with the utmost love and respect and dignity that it should be afforded to every sentient being. But, there might be a bit of virtue signaling here, a bit of wokeness here, a bit of Munchausen syndrome by proxy via contagion here. In any case, I decided to cull all this together, and this, of course, will be covered in my forthcoming book, as you might imagine. And I put out the following position regarding the irrationality of progressivism. And when I say progressivism, I consider myself to be progressive in the true sense of the term, not in the way that the term has been co-opted by enemies of reason. So here we go. Let me read it for you. Progressive logic. When a 17-year-old viciously commits a premeditated murder, he is a child because, our brains continue to develop until we are 25. Treat him as a child. When it comes to voting, lower the voting age to 16 because we should trust our teenagers. They are the future. We must empower them with the power to shape society. When it comes to gender dysphoria, Charlize, a 3-year-old is definitely old enough to make a decision about his/her gender identity. So for murder, 17-year-old is too young. For voting, 16 is perfectly fine. For gender identity issues, as long as you are a few cells in the womb, you are old enough to pronounce a position on your gender identity. Progressivism is truly the epitome of coherent logic, the zenith of rationality. There is a concept in behavioral decision theory, which again, stay tuned, all this will be covered for you in my forthcoming book. Axioms of rational choice are, axioms that define what constitutes rationality within the restricted domain of decision making. So, for example, the transitivity axiom says if I prefer car A to car B and I prefer car B to car C, then I should prefer car A to car C via the transitivity axiom. If I violate those ordinal preferences, then I'm engaging in an intransitive preference and therefore I'm being irrational. Well, progressivism fails on every possible imaginable definition of rationality. It is internally incoherent, inconsistent. It's just gibberish that is constructed bottom up to demonstrate how woke I am.